My husband and I have one daughter, but we really wanted 2 kids, so we decided to try again. I had a really difficult pregnancy the first time, so I was really nervous about getting pregnant, but luckily I got pregnant with twin girls. My sister also got pregnant around the same time as me, but unfortunately lost her baby at 20 weeks, and her fertility was extremely damaged in the process. She's been understandably sore about my pregnancy, and her loss has dominated our world. But the other day, she asked me if she could have one or both of my twins, as after all, you have a child already, and you only want 2 kids, so one of your kids is unwanted, and I want a kid. I know she's grieving, so I had to kindly explain to her why I can't do that. But she said, "You have it all I've ever wanted. Can you try to be nice to your big sister after all I've done for you?" We were on a family FaceTime call, and my dad saw my husband playing with our daughter and said, "I'm really lucky to have a husband like him." And my husband said, "I just love my little princesses, and I can't wait for the others to arrive from their carriage." My sister blew up on my husband, saying how cruel he is for saying that, and he doesn't know the trauma she's gone through. I feel like I'm walking on eggshells around her. I've miscarried before, and I know it hurts a lot, but I also want to enjoy this pregnancy while I can. I work as an assistant for a really big fashion company. We had a defective wedding dress, and my boss asked if I knew anyone we could give it to. My best friend recently got engaged, so it was perfect. When she posted on Instagram to thank me and my boss, my family caught wind of it, and that's when the influx of calls came. I do not have a good relationship with my family. My parents kicked me out when I was 16 after I came out to them, and my sister wasn't much better. They demanded to know why I gave the dress to my friend and not to my sister. I didn't even know she was engaged. They suggested I try to take it back from my friend, as family should always come first. My sister even tried to call my boss to complain. I just got off the phone with my mom, and this is how the conversation went. She says my sister is very upset about the dress, and I told her she needs to get over it. My mom says I can make it up to them by giving her another dress. I posted one last night on my Instagram. It's a $12,000 dress, and that's the one my sister wants. And I told her, "You expect me to give you a $12,000 dress when you kicked me out when I was 16? My mom says, "That was a long time ago, and we're talking about your sister, not me." When I refused to give the dress, my mom says the least I can do is help her buy one. At this point, I hang up, and I've been avoiding them since then.
Storytime about my roommate's crazy girlfriend. I'm a lesbian living with my good friend who's a guy. I own the apartment and rent out the room to him. A month ago, he met a girl online and they started dating. She's constantly at our place, and I'll be honest, I don't like her. She's always been incredibly rude and standoffish towards me. I eventually learned that it's because she thought I had a thing for my roomie, even after he told her I was gay, to which she replied that I don't look gay. A few weeks ago at a kickback at our place, I pulled her aside, telling her that I really am gay and I hope that we could be friends. She seemed to take this very well and was overly friendly with me for the rest of the night. The next day, my roommate wanted to talk to me, saying that his girlfriend feels uncomfortable around me after I drunkenly hit on her. What? I wasn't drunk at all, and I'm not attracted to her whatsoever. I explained to my roommate what really happened, and he was skeptical, but took my word for it, chalking it up to a miscommunication. A week later, we had another kickback, and his girlfriend was there, of course. I was cordial, but stayed away so another miscommunication wouldn't happen. Towards the end of the night, another friend said to me, "Dude, what's going on? She's telling everyone that you've been hitting on her all night." I was pissed off and went up to her in front of everyone saying, "What the hell's going on? Why are you spewing lies about me hitting on you?" Part 2 of my roommate's crazy girlfriend. She stared at me, unable to respond. Then I said, "Just because I'm gay doesn't mean that I'm into you. Trust me, I'm not the least bit interested in you." She started sobbing and spewing BS, so I kicked her out and told her that she's not welcome anymore for making me uncomfortable in my own apartment. Her and my roommate both left, and he was super pissed at me. He didn't come back for a while, but I got some angry texts. However, I stood my ground about her not being welcome anymore. I told him he was free to stay or move out as he pleases. Most of her friends were on my side. Nearly a week later, my roommate returned home and he was giving me the silent treatment. I figured I'd just leave him alone and let him get over it. Then his girlfriend started calling me and demanding that I give the phone to him because he apparently wasn't speaking to her. I told her to kick rocks and that I wasn't getting in their business anymore. Soon after, my roommate finally started talking to me again. Turns out, they got into a huge blowout fight and his girlfriend admitted that she wanted me to flirt with her just to prove that she could pull a lesbian. He told her that was messed up and then broke up with her on the spot. She wouldn't stop blowing up our phones for weeks until I finally blocked her number. It's been a few months and my roommate moved out. We're definitely not as close, but we're still good friends. His ex-girlfriend recently came out as bisexual on social media. How ironic.
My fiancé and I postponed our wedding because his mother fell extremely ill, and so we're waiting until she's healthy enough to attend. My 17-year-old niece procrastinated in finding a dress for prom next Saturday, so she called me and asked if she could borrow one of my gowns. I work in the fashion industry and have amassed a small collection of black tie gowns that are reserved for events. I was happy to lend one out to my niece. They came over today, but I was on the phone with the client, so I just told them to go upstairs and go find something they liked. My cat knocked into a bag of flowers, so I was busy cleaning that up when my niece and my sister walked out of my closet. I didn't want them to step into the mess, so I told them I'd catch them on my niece's prom night. I went to see what dress my niece took, and I noticed that the white bag that contained my wedding dress wasn't zipped all the way, and I noticed my dress was missing. I called my sister, but she was avoiding my phone calls and immediately drove her to her house to confront her. They initially denied, saying they didn't know that it was my wedding dress, but that was BS because my sister was there when I picked out the dress and was at all my fittings. Then they changed the story and said that was the only dress my niece liked, and didn't think it was a big deal since it didn't really look like a wedding dress and they would have returned it anyways. I simply took my dress and left, and my niece was furious and crying, saying I ruined her prom.
Be careful on who you decide to meet up with on a dating app because you might just end up on a date with a narcissist. When I was in Denver, I ended up matching with a really hot 39-year-old who also happened to be a lawyer. I recently called off an engagement, so casually dating other people was kinda in the books for me. Before meeting him, I made sure I took all the usual precautions. We made it very, very clear what our boundaries were and said that there was no expectations. So like either of us could leave after a drink and it would be totally fine. Also, we made sure to FaceTime and he seemed super sweet, totally normal. However, the second we sat down, it seemed like he was on drugs. He would literally talk a million miles an hour about himself and wouldn't let me get a breath in. And the stuff he was bringing up was just odd. Like he even included that he broke off an engagement too. Hold on to that thought. 2 drinks in, this man leans over and says, I've been diagnosed with bipolar and schizophrenic disorder, but I didn't want to talk about it over text. Because I don't know a whole lot about those mental disorders, I felt a little uncomfy. I also didn't feel like that was a first date topic. Then he literally starts joking about murdering me and states that he would use my dead body for Face ID to text my friend that I'm safe so the timing is off for the investigation. Like for part 2. Part 2 of going on a date with a narcissist. So I start getting uncomfy and getting ready to leave. He offers to call a car and I say, oh no, it's fine, you got my drink, I'm just gonna go. And he gets confused and he's like, wait, what's going on here? Are we not going home together? I expressed that I was just tired and I wanted to get back to my hotel so that I could sleep and get on the road in the morning. He could not have been more offended by this and kept trying to make sexual comments to get me to come back to his place. Like, no, that's creeping me out more. So I get into my Uber and I make it home alone. And he texts me, tell Elise I said happy birthday tomorrow. That is my mom's name and it was her birthday tomorrow, but I didn't tell him any of this information over drinks. That's when I realized he had found my Facebook and then he called me. He proceeded to go off and lecture me because he couldn't comprehend why I wouldn't sleep with someone as great as he is. He expressed how much better he is than my ex-fiance, who I never brought up over dinner. This is when he let me know that he did his research on me before even meeting me. And I realized that a lot of the conversations that we had over drinks was him just verifying that I was the same person he found on Facebook. He still contacts me and I don't know what to do or say.
When my grandma passed away, she left each of her grandkids money to put them through college debt-free. But this fund stayed in our parents' names until we turned 18. My sister got pregnant her sophomore year of high school. She was panicking about college. The baby daddy left and she hasn't tried to find him to get child support. All of that stress caused a hard, complicated pregnancy, but both are okay. We graduated this last December with about $2,000 in debt. I figured she used all the money grandma left for her pregnancy and had to take out a loan. I got accepted to my dream college, but my mom was insistent that I stay local to save money. I told her grandma left me more than enough, but that's when she told me they used all the money that was supposed to go to me to take care of my sister and her kid and her expensive pregnancy. I broke down and just lost it crying. I was shouting how they screwed me over for the kid that fucked up. My sister got upset and asked me if I'd rather have had her live on the street unable to raise her child so I can go to college and have a good life. I said yes, it's not fair that she fucked up, got drunk, and slept with so many guys she doesn't know who the baby daddy is. But I'm the one who has to be punished for it. The argument got too heated, so I left. Did I go too far? I feel screwed over because I'm being punished despite being the one that followed the rules.
When I was younger, there was a girl I knew who lived in our neighborhood. None of the kids liked her because they claimed that she stinked and acted weird. When they talked about her, I kind of felt bad, so I became friends with her. Yeah, of course, I got the, why do you hang out with her? But she really wasn't all that bad. But her scent, they were kind of right about that. One day, she invites me over to her house, and she was very excited because she told me I was the first person to ever come over. And I felt so honored, so I went. But when I went into her house, it smelled very bad, almost nauseating, but I didn't say anything because I didn't want to be rude. She had a lot of uncles that lived with her family. Honestly, it was like 4 to 5 families in one house, to be honest. But she first introduced me to her stepmom. I said hi to her, but she just stared at me in disgust. Then we went to her room to play. As it got later, I told her I needed to go home. But she begged me to stay longer because she was scared. I told her I'd come tomorrow, and she just starts crying. She runs into her bed and falls into her sheets, which lifted her skirt. There were bruises all over her thighs. Let me know if y'all want a part 2. Part 2 about the girl I knew who lived in my neighborhood. So it's late and it's time for me to go home. She said she was scared and starts crying. Then she runs into her bed and flops into her sheets. Her skirt lifted and there were bruises all around her thighs. I ask her, what happened? She looks down and quickly pulls her skirt over her bruises. I ask, did someone do that to you? And she says she can't tell me. I ask why. She responds, if I do, they're going to hurt me. So I ran downstairs to her stepmom and told her what I saw. She sits and laughs in my face. I was so confused and asked her, are you gonna help her? And she tells me that little hoe can help herself and that I actually should be going home. So I went into the living room where her uncles were and told them. One of them had said, That's why that girl don't need to be bringing random folks into the house, and runs upstairs to her room. One of the other uncles asks, "You want to get popped?" I shook my head in fear and said no. And he yells at me, telling me to go home. From there, I ran home and never came back. And after that day, she never came back outside. It's been 7 years. To this day, I wonder what happened to her.
Am I wrong for wanting to have my wedding even though my sister lost her baby? A week before my wedding, my sister found out she miscarried at 5 months. Obviously, I was very upset for her as losing a baby can be very tough, especially because it was her first baby. But I didn't want it to end up being more important than my wedding. 3 days before my wedding, my sister announces at a family gathering that she wants my wedding to be canceled and changed to a funeral for her baby. I was so upset that she would even ask this. I had been waiting months for my wedding and her miscarriage happened so soon. She burst into tears in front of our family, saying I could wait a few months for my wedding, but she couldn't delay her baby's funeral. I got so mad I stormed off. My whole family took her side, telling me to cancel my wedding, even though I had arranged and bought everything. Even my dress and venue was ready, so I couldn't just cancel. I ended up cutting off all of my family, and only a few remained to attend my wedding. My sister hasn't spoken to me in years, and neither has my family. In my opinion, if my sister loses a baby, like a week before my wedding, like I wouldn't have it. That's just me.